This story is titled, I Gave My Wife My Bonus Check to Help Her Open a Business. That night, I overheard her tell her friend, if he thinks this means I love him, he's dumber than I thought. I took my laptop, packed my bag, and left the lease transfer papers on the table. I've been staring at my phone for the past 3 hours in this hotel room, wondering how I missed all the signs. The screen keeps lighting up with Sarah's 34F calls and messages, but I, 36M, can't bring myself to read them. How do you process discovering that the person you've loved for 8 years sees you as nothing but a walking ATM? It all started 6 months ago when Sarah came to me with tears in her eyes, talking about how unfulfilled she felt at her corporate job. She'd always dreamed of opening her own boutique fitness studio, something that combined her passion for wellness with her business degree. I'd never seen her so passionate about anything before, and watching her eyes light up as she showed me her business plan made me fall in love with her all over again. I've been saving, she told me, but I'm still about $50,000 short for the initial investment. She didn't directly ask for anything, but I could see the hope in her eyes. We'd been doing well financially. I'd just received a substantial bonus at my tech consulting firm, and seeing her so excited about something made the decision easy for me. Let me help, I said, already pulling up my banking app. My bonus can cover that gap. The way she hugged me then, I thought I was making the right choice. I thought I was investing in our future together. The next few months were a blur of property viewings, equipment purchases, and late-night planning sessions. Sarah was in her element, and I loved seeing her so driven. She'd come home excited about new ideas, and I'd listen, offering suggestions when asked, but mostly just supporting her dream. I even helped her renovate the space on weekends, painting walls and assembling equipment. Everything seemed perfect until last night. Sarah was having wine with her best friend Emma, 35F, in our living room while I was working late in my home office. I was about to go say hello when I overheard their conversation through the partially open door. You're so lucky, Emma was saying. Mark just handed over his entire bonus without questioning anything. Sarah's laugh in response felt like ice down my spine. If he thinks this means I love him, he's dumber than I thought. Once the studio takes off, I won't need him anymore. I've already talked to my lawyer about how to protect the business in the divorce. I stood there, frozen, as my entire world crumbled around me. 8 years of marriage, countless memories, all our plans for the future, they meant nothing. I was just a means to an end. That moment, something inside me shifted. I quietly walked back to my office, opened my laptop, and started making arrangements. By midnight, I had a hotel booked and my essential documents in order. I wrote up lease transfer papers, my final gift to the woman who never really loved me. I was still processing what I'd just heard when my phone started vibrating. Sarah's name flashed on the screen, followed immediately by a stream of texts. Where are you? Mark, please come home right now. You can't do this to me. Answer your phone. I stared at the messages, feeling oddly detached. 15 years in project management had taught me how to handle crisis situations, assess, plan, execute. Right now, that corporate mindset was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. My phone rang again. This time, I answered. What the hell, Mark? Sarah's voice was shrill, panicked. I just found lease transfer papers on the table. Are you insane? You can't just leave. Can't I? My voice sounded strange, even to me. Calm. Too calm. I think I just did. You're being ridiculous. You didn't even hear the whole conversation. She was practically screaming now. I was drunk. Emma and I were just joking around. You know how we get when we're drinking wine. I laughed then, a hollow sound that surprised us both. A joke? That's what you're going with. You were joking about consulting divorce lawyers to protect your business? The one I funded with my entire bonus. Baby, please. Her voice softened, turning sweet, pleading, the same tone she'd used when asking for the money. How had I never noticed how calculated it was? I didn't mean any of it. I love you. You know I love you. Come home, and we can talk about this. Talk about what, Sarah? About how dumb I am. About how you've been planning to divorce me once the studio takes off. Or should we talk about how I spent every weekend for the past 3 months helping you renovate a space you never planned to share? You're twisting everything. She was crying now. It wasn't like that. I was showing off for Emma. Being stupid. Please, Mark, you can't throw away 8 years of marriage over one stupid drunk conversation. I closed my eyes, remembering how excited I'd been to help her achieve her dreams. How proud I'd felt every time she showed me new equipment or talked about class schedules. What a fool I'd been. You know what's funny? I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice was. In project management, we have this thing called a sunk cost fallacy. It's when people keep investing in something failing because they've already put so much into it. 8 years is a lot of sunk cost, Sarah. What are you talking about? Stop with the work jargon and listen to me. I'm your wife. No, I said quietly. You're a very expensive life lesson. Congratulations on the studio. I hope it was worth it. Mark, wait. I ended the call and blocked her number. Then I blocked Emma's number too for good measure. I knew Sarah would find other ways to contact me. She'd probably start calling everyone we knew, painting me as the villain who abandoned her over nothing. But right now, I needed silence. My laptop pinged with an email notification, a confirmation for tomorrow morning's appointment with a divorce attorney. Good. The sooner I got this started, the better. Sarah had already consulted lawyers about protecting her business. I'd be damned if I didn't protect myself too. I poured myself a drink from the minibar and walked to the hotel window. Somewhere across town, Sarah was probably still staring at those lease transfer papers, realizing her perfect plan had just imploded. Part of me wanted to feel bad about leaving so abruptly. But another part, the part that kept replaying her cold laugh as she called me dumb, knew I'd made the right choice. Sometimes the most expensive mistakes turn out to be the best lessons. This one cost me $50,000 and 8 years of my life, but at least I finally learned the truth. And in project management, we have another saying, better to cut your losses than compound your mistakes. I was in the middle of a meeting with my divorce attorney when my phone buzzed with an unknown number. Usually, I'd ignore it, but something told me to answer. I'm glad I did. It was worth it just to hear how quickly Sarah's smug tone crumbled. Hello, Mark, she said, sounding entirely too pleased with herself. I just had a fascinating chat with my lawyer. Apparently, what you've done could be considered fraud and theft. Taking money from my business account? That's serious. We're talking potential jail time. I pressed the speakerphone button so my attorney could hear, watching as she raised an eyebrow and started taking notes. Your business account? I couldn't help but laugh. Sarah, do you mean my bonus check that I directly transferred to the studio's account? The one with the clear paper trail from my company to your business? That money. It was a loan to the business, she snapped. You're trying to extort me now by threatening to take it away. My lawyer says. Let me stop you right there, I interrupted, my project manager instincts kicking in. Remember when you insisted I help you set up the business documentation? I still have all the files, including the ones where you listed my bonus as a capital investment, not a loan. Oh, and those lovely WhatsApp messages where you detailed how you were planning to use my money to start the business. Should I mention the emails? Silence on the other end. But my favorite part? I continued, feeling oddly calm. The security camera footage from our home office that runs 24/7 because of my work contracts. It caught your entire conversation with Emma. In full HD. With excellent audio. I heard her sharp intake of breath. You're bluffing. Remember when you signed those home security documents last year? The ones you didn't bother to read? They clearly state that all common areas are under surveillance. The living room counts as a common area, Sarah. You can't. I already sent copies to my lawyer. Standard procedure, you understand. Had to protect all that sensitive work data I handle. Funny how things work out, isn't it? My attorney was openly smiling now, scribbling perfect in large letters on her notepad. You're really going to destroy everything? Sarah's voice had lost its edge, turning desperate. Over one stupid conversation? No, Sarah. You tried to destroy everything. I'm just making sure I have receipts. I paused, then added, by the way, if any more creative legal theories come up, remember that filing false police reports is a crime. And extortion? That's what you're doing right now. My lawyer says that's pretty serious too. The line went dead. My attorney looked up from her notes. I've handled hundreds of divorces, but I've rarely seen someone this well prepared. Those cameras were a stroke of genius. I shrugged. Project Management 101. Always maintain comprehensive documentation. After that call, Sarah seemed to vanish. Her social media went dark. The studio's Instagram stopped updating. Even Emma, who'd been bombarding me with messages, suddenly went quiet. The silence was unexpected but welcome. My attorney told me to stay alert. This kind of quiet usually means someone's planning something. But honestly, I'm not worried. Let Sarah plot and scheme. I've spent 15 years managing high-stakes projects with millions of dollars on the line. Compared to that, protecting myself from a failed marriage is practically routine. Besides, I've learned my lesson about investing in things that don't show returns. Some might call me cold for thinking about my marriage in business terms. But hey, at least business partners have to sign contracts. Life has a funny way of showing you that rock bottom has a basement. 3 weeks of silence from Sarah had lulled me into a false sense of security. I was actually starting to focus on work again, buried in project reports in my corner office on the 15th floor, when movement on the street caught my eye. At first, I thought I was hallucinating. Sarah was walking down the sidewalk, laughing and holding a coffee cup. But it wasn't her that made my blood run cold. It was who she was with. David, 36M, my best friend since 3rd grade. The guy who'd been my best man. The friend who'd been too busy to grab a beer with me for the past month. I watched them for a moment, feeling oddly detached. They looked comfortable together. The way Sarah touched his arm when she laughed. The way he leaned in close to say something. This wasn't a first meeting. My fingers moved on autopilot, pulling up David's contact and hitting call. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Hey man, what's up?" His voice was casual, relaxed. "Not much." I kept my tone light. "Just working." "You?" "Same here, buried in meetings all day." He faked a tired sigh. "This new client is killing me." Through my window, I watched him take a sip of coffee, his free hand resting on Sarah's lower back as they waited to cross the street. "Funny," I said, "because from my office window, it looks like you're having coffee with my wife." The silence that followed was deafening. Below, I saw David freeze mid-step. Sarah looked up at him, concerned, then followed his gaze up to my building. Even from 15 stories up, I could see the color drain from her face. "Mark," David started, "I can explain." "Oh, this is going to be good," I cut him off, laughing. The sound surprised even me. It wasn't angry or bitter, just genuinely amused. "Let me guess, you randomly ran into each other? You're just being a good friend, checking on her? Or wait, maybe you're helping her see the error of her ways. It's not what you think." "Really?" "Because I think my wife, who tried to scam me out of my bonus and then threatened legal action when it backfired, is now dating my best friend of 30 years. Please, tell me how I'm misreading this situation." Sarah was frantically digging through her purse now, probably for her phone. David looked like he was about to throw up. "So this is why you've been too busy to meet up, huh?" I continued, watching them squirm on the sidewalk. "Been consoling my poor, misunderstood wife? How long has this been going on, Dave? Before or after she admitted to using me for startup money?" "Mark, please." "You know what's really funny?" I was almost crying with laughter now. I was actually feeling guilty about how things ended, wondering if I overreacted. But this. I wiped my eyes, still chuckling. "This is perfect. This is exactly what I needed." "What do you mean?" David's voice was small, scared. "I mean, congratulations. You two deserve each other. The scheming wife and the lying best friend. It's poetic, really. Just do me a favor." "What?" "When she eventually screws you over, and she will, don't come crying to me." "Oh, and David? Remember all those investment opportunities one told you about over the years? The ones that paid off big? Don't expect any more tips. Consider this your severance package from our friendship." I hung up and turned back to my computer, still smiling. My phone immediately started buzzing with messages from both of them, but I didn't bother reading them. Instead, I forwarded the office security camera footage of their coffee date to my lawyer. Just another exhibit for the file. Some people might be devastated discovering their wife and best friend's betrayal. But me? I'm just grateful. They've given me something priceless, the absolute certainty that I'm making the right decision. And in project management, certainty is worth its weight in gold. Revenge, I've learned, is a dish best served with perfect timing. David always said I was too nice at work, too willing to let others take credit. He never understood that I was playing the long game. Now, watching his career implode in real time during the quarterly review meeting, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. "I don't understand," David stammered as our CEO dissected his failed project. "The projections showed." "The projections you insisted on pushing through despite senior management's concerns?" I interrupted smoothly. "The ones I specifically warned would collapse under actual market conditions?" David's face went pale. He knew exactly what I was doing. 3 weeks ago, he'd begged me to approve his projections, claiming his job depended on it. He wasn't wrong. I just made sure those projections were thoroughly, catastrophically wrong. If you had listened to Mark's risk assessment, our CEO continued, we wouldn't be looking at a $2 million loss. Pack your things, David. Security will escort you out. As he walked past my chair, I whispered, consider this the first payment on your debt. But David was just the appetizer. The main course involved Sarah's best friend Emma, 35F, who'd been shooting me concerned looks for weeks. Emma, who'd always flirted with me at parties. Emma, who Sarah had trusted with all her secrets. It wasn't hard to run into Emma at her favorite coffee shop. Wasn't hard to let her comfort me over drinks. Wasn't hard to end up at her place, knowing Sarah had a spare key for emergencies. Are you sure about this? Emma whispered as I kissed her neck. The bedroom door was open, exactly as planned. Right on cue, I heard the front door open. Sarah's voice rang out. Emma? Your car's outside and I really need to. The look on Sarah's face when she walked in was worth every penny of that bonus. Her best friend and her husband, caught in the act. The betrayal in her eyes, the shock, the hurt. It was like looking in a mirror of my own pain. What the fuck? Sarah's voice cracked. Emma? Mark. I turned slowly, making sure she saw every detail. Oh, hey Sarah. We were just discussing loyalty. Emma's been very enlightening. How could you? Sarah's eyes filled with tears as she stared at Emma. You're supposed to be my best friend. Emma pulled the sheet up to her chin, face burning with shame. Sarah, like you were supposed to be my wife? I cut in, my voice ice cold. Like David was supposed to be my best friend? Karma's a bitch, isn't it? Sarah's face went from red to white. You planned this. Did I? I smiled, standing up and gathering my clothes. Or maybe Emma and I just had a genuine connection. That's what you said about David, right? These things just happen? You bastard, Sarah whispered. I learned from the best. I pulled on my shirt, walking past her frozen form. By the way, Emma, thanks for the lovely evening. And Sarah? You might want to find a new best friend. This one's about as loyal as you are. I walked out, leaving them to deal with the wreckage of their friendship. Behind me, I could hear Sarah's screams of betrayal, Emma's tearful explanations. Music to my ears. Some might say I went too far. That sleeping with Emma just to hurt Sarah was cruel. Maybe they're right. But in business and in life, there's one rule I've learned. Never start a game you're not prepared to lose. Sarah and David thought they were playing chess. They just didn't realize I was willing to flip the board. Sarah's attempt to paint me as the villain backfired spectacularly. Every time she told someone about me sleeping with Emma, they'd ask why. And every time I showed them the security footage of her conversation about using me for money, followed by evidence of her affair with David, the sympathy she was hoping for turned to disgust. I need to see you, her text read. One last time. I owe you the truth. We met at a coffee shop, neutral territory. She looked terrible, nothing like the confident woman who'd laughed about manipulating me just weeks ago. Dark circles under her eyes, hands shaking as she stirred her untouched coffee. I never loved you, she said quietly, staring into her cup. Not the way you loved me. I didn't react. Just waited. I was jealous, she continued. You were so successful, so sure of yourself. Everything you touched turned to gold. I wanted that for myself. I thought. She paused, swallowing hard. I thought if I could just get that studio running, I'd finally be your equal. So you decided to use me and then throw me away? My voice was surprisingly calm. I had it all planned out. She laughed bitterly. Get the studio established, build a client base, then leave with my successful business. I never meant for you to hear that conversation with Emma. Never meant for any of this to happen. And David? She flinched. He was convenient, understanding. He made me feel less guilty about what I was doing to you. How romantic. I know you hate me, she whispered. I know I deserve it. But. Her voice cracked. I'm pregnant. The words hung in the air between us. I took a slow sip of my coffee, studying her face. The desperation in her eyes. The way she leaned forward, waiting for my reaction. Congratulations, I said finally. You should tell David. I'm sure he'll be thrilled to be a father. Her face went white. What? Sarah, I smiled sadly. I had a vasectomy 3 years ago. Remember all those business trips to Boston? The recovery wasn't fun, but my doctor there was excellent. You, what? Her hands started trembling harder. You were always so sure you didn't want kids. Said they'd get in the way of your career goals. So I took care of it. I leaned back in my chair. I was going to tell you eventually, but then you got so focused on the studio, it never seemed like the right time. Why are you lying? Her voice rose, drawing looks from nearby tables. You never. Check my medical records. They're part of the divorce filing now. I stood up, dropping some cash on the table. Good luck explaining this to David, or whoever the actual father is. Mark, please, she grabbed my arm, tears streaming down her face. I didn't. I can't. Can't what? Keep track of which man you're trying to manipulate. I gently removed her hand. Don't worry, I'm sure between the studio, David, and your new baby, you'll finally feel successful enough. That's all you wanted, right? She ran out of the coffee shop sobbing. I watched her go, feeling nothing but a dull ache where my heart used to be. The barista gave me a sympathetic look. That breakup? She asked. No, I replied, finishing my coffee. Just a very expensive business lesson. As I walked back to my car, my phone buzzed with a text from my lawyer. The divorce papers were ready for final signatures. Perfect timing. I was more than ready to close this chapter of failed investments. It's been 6 months since the divorce was finalized. Sarah's pregnancy revelation backfired spectacularly in court. The medical records of my vasectomy were just one more nail in the coffin of her credibility. The judge was particularly unimpressed by her attempted manipulation, especially after all the evidence of her planning to use the business to scam me came to light. I got my full bonus amount back, plus legal fees. Sarah tried to argue that the studio's success was due to her hard work, but the books told a different story. Turns out, she was as bad at running a business as she was at being faithful. The studio had been hemorrhaging money for months. Within weeks of the divorce, she had to shut it down, unable to maintain it without my financial backing and connections in the local business community. David, from what I hear, moved to another state after losing his job. The pregnancy wasn't his. Apparently, there was a third man in the picture. I almost feel sorry for him. Almost. But life has a funny way of turning things around. What started as revenge with Emma transformed into something unexpected. We ran into each other at our favorite coffee shop a month after the divorce, and this time, there was no scheme, no plan. I need to confess something, Emma said over coffee. I always felt guilty around Sarah because I had feelings for you. For years. But I pushed them down because you were married to my friend. Then I saw how she treated you, how she talked about you behind your back, and it killed me. That night, it wasn't just about revenge for me. I studied her face, looking for any sign of manipulation, any hint of the game Sarah used to play. Instead, I found only raw honesty. I should have told you what Sarah was planning, she continued. But she was my friend, and I was afraid, and selfishly, I didn't want to lose my connection to you. I'm sorry it took me so long to do the right thing. We've been dating for 3 months now. It's different from what I had with Sarah. There's no power play, no hidden agenda. Just two people who've seen the worst in others and still chose to believe in love. Last week, I overheard Sarah was trying to open another business in a nearby town. Her Instagram is full of inspirational quotes about bouncing back and rising from the ashes. But this time, she'll have to do it without my money or connections. Sometimes the best revenge is simply moving on and letting karma do its work. As for me, I'm learning to trust again. Emma and I are taking things slow, building something real. She comes to my office sometimes with lunch, and we laugh about how we can see the closed studio from my window. Not out of spite, but as a reminder that sometimes you have to lose everything to find what you really need. The other day, I found an old photo of Sarah and me from our wedding. I didn't feel anger anymore, just gratitude. That $50,000 bonus wasn't just a business investment. It was the price of learning what real love isn't, and more importantly, what it is. Life's biggest lessons often come with the highest price tags. But as any good project manager knows, the true value isn't in what you lose, but in what you learn. And this time, I learned that sometimes rock bottom is just the foundation for something better. Emma and I are looking at houses now. Something with big windows and no security cameras. Because this time, I don't need to document everything. This time, I'm investing in something real.